The cameras roll, and the tension is already thick in the air. The episode of The View is expected to be a lively one, but no one could have predicted just how explosive it would become. Vice President Kamala Harris was invited as a guest to discuss the upcoming election, current political challenges, and her recent public appearances. But as the conversation unfolded, things took a sharp and uncomfortable turn that no one in the studio, or watching from home, could ignore. The show started off as usual, with the hosts exchanging friendly banter before turning to their guest. Kamala Harris entered to applause, smiling confidently, waving to the audience, and taking her seat beside Joy Behar. For the first few minutes, everything went smoothly. The conversation touched on policy, her latest initiatives, and her thoughts on the administration's goals for the next term. The vice president spoke calmly, projecting confidence and optimism. But then, Joy Behar shifted the discussion toward the more controversial aspects of the current political landscape, issues that have divided even the most loyal supporters of the administration. Behar, known for her bold and often confrontational style, pressed Harris on the administration's approval ratings and recent public criticism. Her tone was sharp, and her words carried an edge that quickly changed the mood on set. "Vice President Harris," she said, "many Americans feel the administration has lost touch with working-class people. Do you really think the current strategy is working?" The vice president paused, took a breath, and smiled politely, but her eyes told a different story. She began to defend the administration's record, listing accomplishments and emphasizing the challenges inherited from previous years. The audience nodded along politely, but Joy wasn't done. Interrupting mid-sentence, she fired back with another tough question about the economy and border security. "But Madam Vice President, isn't it fair to say that Americans are frustrated? Even some Democrats are questioning whether the leadership is listening." That was the moment the energy in the room shifted completely. Harris's expression tightened. She leaned forward, her voice firmer now, and said, "Joy, with all due respect, I think it's very easy to sit here and criticize, but leadership is about making hard choices, not popular ones." Her words drew a mixed reaction from the audience. Some clapped, others murmured. Behar didn't back down. She responded with a sarcastic smile, saying, "Of course, leadership is about hard choices, but when those choices don't work for the people, it's fair to ask questions. That's what democracy is about, isn't it?" The tension between the two was undeniable. Harris looked visibly irritated. She tried to steer the conversation back to her talking points, but the exchange had already taken on a life of its own. Over the next few minutes, the conversation grew more intense. Each time Harris attempted to defend her policies, Behar countered with another pointed remark. The other hosts looked uneasy, occasionally trying to diffuse the situation, but neither woman seemed willing to step back. It was political theater in real time. Then came the moment that no one saw coming. Behar brought up the topic of public trust in the upcoming election. She quoted recent polls suggesting a decline in confidence in the administration and asked Harris if she thought she could win over undecided voters. Harris, clearly frustrated, replied sharply, "Joy, I didn't come here to debate polls. I came here to talk about solutions. If people want to talk about real progress, they should look at what we've done, not what headlines say." The audience reacted again, some applauding, others gasping at the clear tension. Behar, sensing the heat, pushed one step further. "With all due respect, Madam Vice President, that sounds like you're avoiding accountability. The people deserve answers, not slogans." That was the breaking point. Kamala Harris's expression hardened. She removed her earpiece, gave a tense smile, and said quietly, "I think we're done here." The audience fell silent. Joy looked momentarily stunned. Harris stood up, thanked the other hosts with a nod, and walked off the set. The studio was in shock. Producers scrambled behind the scenes, cameras cut to commercial, and the host tried to regain composure. When the show returned, Joy attempted to laugh off the moment, saying, "Well, that was unexpected," but the awkwardness lingered. The internet, however, exploded. Within minutes, clips of Harris walking off the set flooded social media. Hashtags like "Kamala storms off" and "The View meltdown" began trending. Supporters of both women jumped into the online debate. Some defended Harris, saying she was disrespected and unfairly grilled. Others argued that Behar was simply doing her job as a journalist, and asking the hard questions politicians often try to avoid. By the afternoon, the story had made national headlines. Political commentators weighed in, with some calling it a major misstep for the vice president, while others saw it as a sign of growing tension between mainstream media and the White House. Late-night hosts joked about the incident. News outlets replayed the clip repeatedly, and political strategists speculated about its impact on Harris's image. Behind the scenes, sources claimed that Harris's team was furious, accusing The View producers of blindsiding her with hostile questions. The show's representatives, on the other hand, defended their hosts, saying that guests are always informed of the topics beforehand and that tough conversations are part of the format. As the dust settled, one thing was clear. This wasn't just another talk show moment. It was a political flashpoint that revealed the growing frustration within the Democratic Party and the challenges facing the vice president as she continues to define her public persona. In the days that followed, Harris appeared in a few public events, avoiding direct references to the incident. Her spokesperson released a brief statement emphasizing her commitment to open dialogue and productive discussions, but the clip continued to circulate. Online debates raged over whether Harris had shown strength by standing up for herself or weakness by walking off. For Joy Behar, it was another headline in a long career of fiery television moments. She maintained that she had nothing personal against Harris and that her job was to ask questions viewers wanted answered. Still, the tension between the two women became symbolic of a larger divide in American politics, a clash between polished political messaging and unfiltered media confrontation. Even now, the moment remains one of the most talked about segments in the show's history. Some see it as proof that live television still has the power to shake the political world. Others see it as another example of how polarized the public discourse has become. But no matter which side you're on, one thing is certain. Kamala Harris's walk-off on The View will be remembered as a defining moment, one that blurred the line between politics, media, and raw human emotion on live TV.